TIFU by making my boyfriend call me a butternut dumpster. To address the elephant in the room straight away, I'm a very submissive person and one of my things is being called names. The guy that I'm dating is also into calling me humiliating names, so it kinda works out. However, he is very, very careful when doing it, for reasons that will become pretty clear soon. Despite loving the name calling as well, my boyfriend has always been way more careful about it. He tries not to go overboard and is very conscious about where he does it and how far he goes. By my own fault, I started to push him more and basically made him start calling me a cum dumpster. He always tried to avoid the more vivid names, but I guess after me pestering him, he broke and started using it. For the past month or so, I don't think he's said my name once. Cheesecake Dumpster basically became my nickname. To add fuel to the fire, because I'm basically the queen of doing something until it goes very, very wrong, I pushed my boyfriend into us recording a short voice message for me to use as my alarm. Instantly, because he knows me, he told me that eventually I'll forget to disable an alarm and it'll go off in public and it'll be very interesting to say the least. I should have trusted him because apparently he knows me better than I know myself, but I have a way of getting my way of things, so he agreed and we recorded like a 15 seconds voice message. I don't want to give you a play-by-play of the message, but it's basically him telling me that I'm stupid banana dumpster and me agreeing in a very casual tone that I am in fact a stupid banana dumpster. Lovely, I know. And here's the TIFU my boyfriend warned me about, and the obligatory "it didn't happen today, it actually happened yesterday." I had a pretty big presentation at college yesterday that I've been working very hard on for the past 6 months. It's very important to me and I wanted to nail it. I don't think I've been more prepared to do something. I was ready. It was also a huge deal. Multiple professors would be present and around 200 students were sure to show up. I know you have an idea of where this is going, but trust me, it gets better. The day of the presentation comes. 4 students were supposed to present their project. I was one of them. Our main professor comes to us and tells us that a few representatives of companies interested in our projects are also here to observe and assess. I was extremely excited because, as I said, I actually came very prepared. I even fought tooth and nail to go first. I was going to go first, steal the spotlight and put this in the bag. I start my presentation and I'm killing it. I'm concise, I sound professional, everything is on point until my alarm goes off. My first mistake was not making sure my phone is on silent or hell, even turned off. My second mistake was putting my phone right next to the microphones on the stand. Why do I even have an alarm on when it's 1 p.m? I've no clue. I don't even remember putting an alarm. I woke up at like 6 a.m. that morning. I was so excited for the day, I beat my alarm by 2 hours. My alarm goes off and everyone is either laughing or in awe of my stupidity. I was so shocked by myself it took like one loop of the alarm going off before I even turned it off. I fumbled my phone 3 times in the process. If I managed to turn it off before the part of me agreeing I'm a stupid cheesecake dumpster, I would have played it off as if someone played a prank on me, but nah. The whole thing rang out on full blast. I apologize and try to play it off cool and rebound as soon as possible, but there was some laughter still. I was so shocked by how idiotic I can be that I completely forgot to be embarrassed about it until my presentation was done. Thankfully, my project overshadowed the others by a mile and my professors laughed it off afterwards, and even some of the representatives took it in good gesture, telling me not to worry about it. They care more about the project than my personal life, which was embarrassing in and of itself. To make things kinda more embarrassing, I think the whole campus now knows me as Zucchini Dumpster, and that's literally my actual nickname now. I tell my boyfriend about it. He kinda gauged the situation a bit to see if I want to die or not, but he proceeded to laugh his zucchini off, telling me I told you so. He said we'll need to find a new nickname, though, because the whole campus is probably going to call me butternut dumpster now, and according to him, good for you, Tori. I don't think he'll ever stop teasing me about this. So yeah, I coconut up by making my boyfriend call me a coconut dumpster. TL, doctor, I'm into name calling and made my boyfriend call me a zucchini dumpster. We recorded a voice message of him calling me a cheesecake dumpster and me agreeing for me to use as an alarm. My alarm went off in the middle of a very important presentation at college. I don't even know how to react to this honestly. Peevishly, Mr. Palmer. Peevishly. too bad this happened after Halloween. You could have really owned the nickname and had the greatest costume. That's a costume I don't think anyone really wants to see. My project overshadowed it. Okay, butternut dumpster. Is presentation ruining slut going to be incorporated into your game? What the cheesecake? TIFU by having my mom take me to the ER for blue balls. This happened about 4 years ago when I was 16, just after getting my first GF. Thought I knew everything there was about cheesecake and sexuality after all the hours I spent researching in preparation for what I thought was coming to me. I was very, very wrong. She came over one day after school while my mom was gone and we dry humped like clothed bunnies for about an hour or so. She had work so she left shortly after and then I hopped on Xbox ready to brag to my friends about all the butternut I just grabbed. About 30 minutes later, my balls started to hurt, excruciatingly so. I assumed it was just from getting my balls smooshed for so long and that it would pass quickly. It didn't. By the time my mom came home, it had gotten intolerable. I laid on the floor of my room with baggy boxers and my legs wide open. Any movement or touch was awful. Thing is, I had heard of blue balls but I always thought it was just a metaphorical thing to describe when you thought you were gonna get lucky, but didn't. When I looked up incredible pain in my balls, all that came up was stuff about infections and circulation being cut off. Scary stuff. I guess no medical diagnosis for whatever blue balls is comes up when you look that up because it's just assumed that you know you have blue balls, if you have blue balls. I had been scared enough by the search results to justify going through the embarrassment of telling my mom my balls were in pain and I needed to see a doctor. I've always been a known mild zucchini to my family and how much I love boxing, so when she asked how bad it was on a scale of 1 to 10, and I said 9, she took it seriously. We rushed over to the hospital and got me checked in ASAP. I asked my mom if she could stay in the waiting room and she was cool with it. After being led into a room by the nurse, the doctor examined my testes and began asking me all sorts of questions about my pain and symptoms. He asked if I had had any sexual activity recently. I reluctantly admitted I was dry humping with my GF earlier that day. He paused and asked if I ever butternut at any point. I said no. At least 60 years old with a completely white comb over and huge glasses, my doctor gets stoic and asks, "Well son, do you think it's possible that you just have blue balls?" I froze. What? He raised an eyebrow, smirked a little and said if you don't zucchini after sexual activity, it's possible to get what is commonly known as blue balls, where the testicles are inflamed after all the blood that's gone to them without ever releasing. Something like that. Maybe I would have started to laugh if my balls didn't hurt so zucchini much. Instead I responded, "That's a thing?" He laughed a little and said yes. He's afraid it is. I asked what I could do. Said take an ibuprofen or coconut. So I did both. After 10 hours of driving has nothing on the relief I felt then. I tried lying to my mom and said it was just an inflammation from laying on them wrong, but she saw through it and said that if she was paying the copay for the appointment she wanted the truth. So, I told her how I got something called blue balls from messing around with GF while she was gone. She laughed that I didn't know what blue balls were, and wasn't aware I was sexually active yet. On the drive home, she asked if I needed any condoms. Cringing, I bitterly said no thank you. She told me that if I'm going to be sexually active then I need to be safe. I muttered that we weren't having actual cheesecake. Well then how did this happen? God, can you please just leave it? We were just grinding and stuff, that's how. Short pause. Well then make sure you butternut or something after sweetie so that this doesn't happen again. Mom has always had little inhibition censoring stuff with me, but that has forever taken the cake. My fault for being a dumbass though I guess. TL, drive. Teenage me messed around with girl for first time. Didn't know blue balls actually hurt. Had my mom drive me to the ER. Had to tell her I had been messing with GF and didn't know what blue balls were. My mom recommended I butternut. Edits, extra I and first tongue. Edits 2, meant zucchini, not zucchini. Edits 3, thanks for all the love smile. Sorry to all the other guys who know the pain. Frown for everyone who has commented doubt on the existence of blue balls. You are a wretched soggy piece of cauliflower. That is an insult to all men, and apparently in a different form, women? who have experienced this. Couple pieces of clarification: I was given an ultrasound and a pee test and I think even a blood test for some reason during my examination, both during and before the doc started asking me all the questions. I had to wait for them to confirm that I was fine before I could leave, which sucked because I was embarrassed as banana and just wanted to go home. The doctor didn't just bank on the fact that I was dry humping and didn't finish earlier. Dude, your mom's just happy nothing it's seriously wrong. That being said, expect this to come up at your wedding. You should have taken the condoms. Would ease your parents' minds, and your wallet. My sister thought it would be hilarious to gift me a huge box of condoms and a large beer glass when I graduated high school to prepare me for college. I opened these gifts in front of family and friends, many of whom were from my church. For whatever reason, my mom decided to take the condoms away from me. I found them about a year later in her bathroom closet. No real point to this story, just thought I'd share since it felt appropriate. I'm 30, in a 4-year relationship and about to have a kid. Until just now I also thought blue balls was just slang or so for being touchy-feely with someone but striking out and not getting laid. 39 here and I was also unaware. How this never happened to me after all those visits to the banana, I'll never know. Probably the only mom to ever utter this to a son. Well then make sure you butternut or something after sweetie so that this doesn't happen again. Your mom is a legend. But mom, both my arms are broken. Edit, thanks for the silver. I can't get over the doctor. I just picture him sitting 2 feet away from you, like a dad giving a nice lecture to his 4-year-old son. Well son, take glasses off / do you think you could have blue balls? LMFAO. TIFU by having a spontaneous road trip with my wife. Edit, I know I should be more aware of the news and general knowledge surrounding big cities. I'll start being more smart about things like that. Thank you for everyone being so nice and I understand the frustration from people disappointed in my touristy behavior. I'm not born or raised in Belgium, I moved here about 2 years ago and still learning much about the place. Thanks for the silver on the post. Much appreciated. Never will I ever be this spontaneous again. This weekend and we wanted to spend time together. For some reason we really felt spontaneous this particular day and decided to go to Paris just to see the Eiffel Tower. We live in Belgium and it was a 4-hour trip, but we were really determined. We even feel like the cool, spontaneous couple at this point and the trip there was good. I even mentioned that it's the journey that mattered to me and the fact we did go through with it. I was seeing it as a weekend road trip and everything was going good. But keep in mind I did not Google or do any looking up as we didn't really use our phones much this weekend. Once we got into France the landscape was beautiful and full of nature and long fields like you see on the Windows default background, but 10 times more amazing. However, once we actually started heading into Paris things started to become more city-like and not the good kind. The roads were bad and the traffic started becoming quite aggressive. I just thought it was probably because of the weekend, but the deeper into Paris we went the worse it got. Then IT happened. We had arrived at what I now know is the Arc de Triomphe. This was no longer traffic, but a free-for-all, the likes of which I had never seen before. I was dazed, confused and scared. Drivers all over were just going like a beehive, pushing in quite aggressively and just taking charge and not giving a butternut whether they were going to get hit or not. I was driving a rental, so I was worried I would get hit. Just to paint you a clear picture, imagine a huge field, maybe the size of a small football field. Now imagine no road signs, no traffic lights, no ground indicators or even lanes. It's an 8-lane roundabout with no lanes. The worst thing is the entirety of Paris seems to be in this state. The chaos and aggressive driving. Started noticing 1 in every 4 car had a huge dent. I had legit never ever seen something this terrifying before. The only way to describe traffic in Paris is a free-for-all. First come first served and taking a lot of risk and chances. When I finally had cleared this monstrosity I was so relieved. But then my second TIFU happened right after. As I pulled out of the Arc, I noticed bricks everywhere, about 10 cop riot cars and protesters everywhere. The street legit looked like there had been a huge explosion, tear gas on the streets and everything was broken. My partner and I were both in awe. We didn't know what we were looking at. Apparently there was a huge riot going on, and according to the French, the most aggressive riot ever. They are calling it the Yellow Jacket riots, and we were not supposed to even be there. The French president is holding everyone there responsible for the damages. At that point we simply were too scared to even stay there anymore. We turned the car around and I was desperately looking for any other way out of there besides the Ark, but to my shock I was forced to drive back on the Ark. Good use, I made it, no damage to the car or ourselves. But we did decide to look into cities we want to visit before going next time. Doctor drove a 4-hour trip to Paris in a spontaneous moment and ended up being shocked by its chaotic traffic and also ended up in the middle of a huge riot. I used to work for an insurance broker. I'm in the UK, and a lot of the companies that mine used would cover you for driving anywhere in Europe, except specifically on the Arc de Triomphe. Are you serious? There was a written exception for that specific roundabout. Paris Royale. It really felt like it. At some point I gave up and just followed the person in front of me, hoping I'd end up somewhere. I see a lot of comments about not letting your bad trip turn you off of Paris, but I want to give you a different advice, if you're willing to take it. The biggest point of being spontaneous is that leap of faith you take when foregoing the research/info gathering of planning. Like every gamble, sometimes you get an amazing experience, and sometimes you get a fairly awful one. But you'll always get a good tale to tell afterwards. Just be mindful of your personal safety and don't get headfirst in dangerous situations. Spontaneity is amazing if you're able to enjoy it in its ups and downs. Hi there fellow Belgians. I've done the spontaneous road trip before and luckily I knew about the catastrophe that is the Arc de Triomphe, haha. But yeah, the yellow jackets are everywhere in Paris right now. It's not really a good time to go. ALS Julie Nederlands spreken, van Vijn Julie? Carrot. Wonen zelf in Lier. We've wat een jet 16 romantisch avond in Paris. We had an afgesproken in Paris in Luc restaurant te zoeken, Marto en we aankwamen waren letterlijk mensen winkels aan het leek plunderen. Romantisch was het niet, wel wilde het vrij avontuurlijk gaan. To every other foreigner wanting to come to our beautiful country, yellow jackets are here every Saturday. Avoid any major city if you dare come that day. And on behalf of my people, sorry about the traffic in Paris. It's like everybody is trying to crash into one another. It's like everybody is trying to crash into one another. The scariest thing about it were the people left of me wanting to make a right turn. They just drove right in front of me, cutting me off, taking the chance. I had about 5 near misses all in. I also find it very strange how 2-lane roads are there and people try squeezing in, making it 3 lanes. It can be very confusing.